Fans, Jack Kilby here with a daily wrestling news update on the Hannibal TV. Before we get into the news, I want to remind everyone of the big upcoming show we have on Saturday, July the 15th at 7 p.m. The Smith Falls Showdown at the Smith Falls Memorial Center. Tickets are available at ticketweb.ca and at the box office. And you're going to want to get them early because the buzz around this show is palpable with Carlito, WWE superstar, Nunzio, ECW and WWE alumnus, Magnum McLaren, and of course, the bloodthirsty Blood Hunter, all on the card. Bell time will be 7 p.m., but there's a meet and greet scheduled for 6. So do yourself a favor and grab those tickets now. On to the news. There's a couple of interesting items today. Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that CM Punk's involvement or re-signing with the company or whatever you want to call it has indeed helped ticket sales for the Chicago show, but the rest of the Collision shows are struggling and do not appear to be getting a bump at this time. Dave mentions that only 700 have been sold thus far for the Hamilton show, but notes that fans here in Canada do not get the Rampage show, but only Dynamite. So we'll see how that pans out. Hard to believe with all the controversy since September that won't generate buys everywhere Punk is booked, but that remains to be seen. Former WWE and ECW diva Francine has reported today that Tammy Sytch's boyfriend is quote unquote threatening to expose her on social media, namely the Twitter platform, and Francine has responded back basically saying, show me what you have. It's an interesting situation considering the recent attention that Tammy Sytch received with the Chris Candido Dark Side of the Ring broadcast and all her recent troubles. So we'll have to be seen if that actually plays out. WWE Raw, the main event involving Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest, appears to have earned or got the broadcast a bump in ratings as they drew an average, according to WrestleNomics, of 1.828 million, which is up from last week's 1.611. And that was for the new third World Heavyweight title main event. It was also reported that Vince McMahon was backstage along with several other WWE executives. Not a lot of detail about that or what Vince's precise role is with the creative process, but I think if you watch Raws recently since the merger announcement, you can see a difference. You can see some things that have Vince's fingerprints all over him. Whether or not he disappeared previously or not, that's debatable, but you can certainly see that. In an interesting bit of news, AEW's Double J, Jeff Jarrett, has filed a trademark request with the patent office in the U.S. to trademark the word heat for pro wrestling and sports entertainment purposes, which will be quite fascinating to see if that is actually bona fide, given the common usage of that term for pro wrestling, formerly as an inside term, now quite common use in all forms of the business. But interesting to see if Double J will get that and of course market it. Excuse me. In a couple of programming notes tonight, the Baby Doll Q&A with myself scheduled for 7 p.m. Unfortunately, we're going to have to postpone that due to an illness in her family, but we will. She wanted to send her regrets for that. And just wanted to give everyone a few heads up in terms of programming that we have planned in the weeks and months to come. Starting with this Saturday at 7 p.m., ECW original Nova will join the Kingpin, Angel Medina, and myself on the Shooting from the Hip podcast, a podcast that is gaining momentum and interest, following up on a string of good episodes that we've had with Ken Patera and Kiwi from WCW last week. This episode will be What If ECW actually obtained a better television contract than the one that they signed back in the late 90s with TNN. So that should be a great discussion. And of course, fan questions are welcome with that. Sir Mo from Men on a Mission will be joining myself on the Great North Wrestling Podcast June the 18th at 7 p.m. Dave Sullivan from WCW will be on the Great North Wrestling Podcast June 25th. Just signed today to appear is Eric Watts, son of Cowboy Bill Watts and quite an accomplished individual in the wrestling business himself. He'll be on the Great North Wrestling Podcast July the 2nd at 7 p.m. And last but not least, Greg the Hammer Valentine, WWE Hall of Famer, will be joining the Hannibal on August the 3rd for an extensive updated shoot interview. There's much more to come in that regard, so I would suggest that everyone stays tuned. And we'll be back tomorrow with another news update. And everyone have a great evening in the interim. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for